Well, Vancouver Aquarium's Marine Mammal Rescue Center has a new patient this morning.
Staff are trying to save a young false killer whale that washed up on a Vancouver Island beach. CTV's Nafisa Karim is at the Marine Mammal Rescue Center and joins us live with more. Nafisa, how's this animal doing?
Well, Brent, Carey, staff here say the young mammal was in distress and in poor condition when it washed ashore. It happened yesterday morning on North Chesterman Beach, which is just south of Tofino. Officials from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans called the Marine Mammal Rescue Center, who attended the scene. You can see from these pictures some scratches on the young animal's face. Now, it was transported here to the rescue center in Vancouver late last night, and that's when they began assessing and treating the animal. We are expecting an update on its condition at 10 a.m. Now, false killer whales are rarely seen in BC waters, according to the aquarium. They're not actually killer whales. They're actually a large species of dolphin. They can actually get pretty big, up to 5 or 6 meters long, and they actually behave like orcas, so they're sometimes confused between the two. We're expecting an update again at 10 a.m. on exactly how this young whale is doing. Brent, Carey?
All right, you'll have that for us. Thanks for that, Nafisa. Well, it's already 16 degrees outside right now. Scorching hot temperatures are in the forecast for Metro Vancouver for the next week. And the warm weather is causing a red algae bloom in Burrard Inlet. These pictures from Chopper 9 show the phenomenon, commonly known as red tide. The BC Centre for Disease Control says it's not toxic. As the water heats up, algae starts multiplying and blooming, causing that red color.
Hot, dry, windy conditions across BC have wildfire crews on alert. Currently, they're battling a growing blaze southeast of Tumbler Ridge. It's covering 5,000 hectares, but officials say it's expected to double in size. A lightning strike sparked the fire earlier in the week.
Meantime, south of the border, a wildfire is threatening more than 200 homes in central Washington. The fire has grown to more than 7,000 hectares with 0% containment. Officials say it could be 2 or 3 weeks before they get it under control.
On the heels of yet another report saying Vancouver is Canada's most expensive city to live in, one councillor says the high cost of living hits families the hardest. Now, the city has created a new agency with a goal of providing 2,500 affordable housing units by year 2021. The new rental housing agency will target middle-income earners that take home between $20,000 and $80,000. Earlier on the show, Councillor Jeff Meggs said many people simply can't afford to live here.
The real crisis is, like, we have a laughably tiny number of 3-bedroom apartments and 2-bedroom apartments, and that's where families are looking to live. We've got more and more people jamming themselves into smaller and smaller places.
Mercer's annual cost of living study ranked Vancouver as Canada's most expensive city to live in for the 2nd year in a row.
A government audit has ruled the former head of the BC Lottery Corporation was in a conflict of interest before he left his job. The report says during his time as CEO, Michael Graydon was in employment talks with the company looking to build a new casino near BC Place. The report found Graydon held an economic interest in the new job that could have influenced his responsibilities as CEO. Despite that, there was no evidence anyone benefited from the conflict.
Police say they've now tracked down the owner of a car that slammed through the wall of a Surrey house. The car jumped the curb at high speed, shattered the wall, and ended up on top of a bed. No one was in the room at the time. 2 people ran from the scene, and the RCMP has now handed 2 tickets to the car's owner, one for driving without consideration, the other for leaving the scene of an accident. However, police say they can't prove the owner was driving at the time. And just 2 days after 2 women were hit in a crosswalk, the city of Surrey is taking steps to improve safety. City contractors have begun installing traffic lights on 96th Avenue and 122nd Street after the crash Tuesday. Locals have been calling for traffic lights for a while now.
The homicide investigation team has taken over a case in Chilliwack. RCMP found the body of a man in a house on 1st Avenue near Coote Street about 4 o'clock yesterday morning. Investigators taped off part of the quiet residential neighborhood. Police are asking anyone who was in the area Wednesday night or early Thursday morning to call them if they saw anything suspicious.
The flooding that hit Saskatchewan late last month has washed away any hope of producing crops for many farmers this year.
Torrential rain saturated fields and killed plants. The province estimates about 12,000 square kilometers of farmland are underwater. While the weather has improved, officials say it's unlikely those fields will yield any crops this year. The damage could lead to higher prices for consumers later this year.
And in Ontario, train service is expected to gradually resume today after a freight train derailed yesterday near Brockville. 13 unloaded fuel tank cars and cars carrying carbon powder went off the tracks. It disrupted lines between Ottawa, Toronto, and Montreal.
Well, some monks in the United States have found a new way to offset the high cost of running their monastery. They're brewing beer.
Yeah, the Trappist monks in Massachusetts say their expenses to run the monastery just keep on rising, so they had to find a way to bring in some more cash. They say while they're the first in the U.S. to do this, monks have actually been brewing beer since the 8th century.
Director here, so I wear my monastic habit, but for production, we wear regular work clothes. Oh, you can't tell who's a monk and who isn't.
The Monks Brewery produces 6,000 bottles of beer every day. Wow.
Wow.
Hey, you know, even monks like a tall, cool one once in a while, I'm sure. Yeah.
I bet you they're dedicated to their craft.
I'm sure they are.